Welcome back to Askewed Reviews. And today I'm reviewing a film that did have a brief stint in theaters, but is either now or will soon be available digitally, depending on where you are. I was also lucky enough to get a screener for this film from my friends over at Strike Media. The movie that I'm referring to is the 2025 film Strange Harvest, directed and written by Stuart Ortiz. I really enjoyed the concept for this movie because the entire film is set up as if it's a nonfiction documentary, but in actuality, it's a fictional horror film. So the story plays out like a true crime documentary as we hear from two detectives that are going over a case that they've been dealing with for quite some time. So even though the story opens up with an incident that occurred in 2010, it really originated in 1995. So the detectives begin talking about a few different crime scenes that all ended up being linked together to one serial killer. Because at each of these crime scenes, they discovered a very odd symbol that would either be painted somewhere or made out of body parts or just found in some weird way or fashion. Each one of these crime scenes ended up being a horrific mystery. Not only were these people placed in very weird and different ways, but parts of their bodies were harvested, and also there was no clues left behind. Whoever this person was, he was very meticulous. They would end up finding out that he goes by the name Mr. Shiny, as each time he committed one of these crimes, he would send a letter to the police. And in each one of those letters, there was a very cryptic message, not only about what he did, but that things were still to come, and some very odd and cult like wording. Now, like I said, the story does jump from 1995 back up to 2010, and mainly due to the fact that Mr. Shiny just wasn't doing anything for about 15 years. Now that he's back, though, he does seem to be up to his old tricks, and it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. The documentary really does a great job of making it feel real, and at the same time, you get heavily invested in the story. And of course, because this is actually a horror movie, there's a fun supernatural element that does get introduced later on into the film. So if you're into true crime stories or even horror movies that have a mystery element, I think this is definitely going to be one you're going to want to check out. So for me on my scale, I'm giving Strange Harvest a 4 out of 5. This film initially had its release just a few weeks back at Fantastic Fest. And if you're in the US, it is currently available for video on demand. Now, if you're in the UK or Australia, you will be able to watch it digitally soon. In the UK, it'll be available as of October 27th, and in Australia on October 29th. And if you'd like to learn more about this film and other movies like it, feel free to look up the information at Vertigo Releasing. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Skewed Reviews. And a big shout out and thank you to Strike Media for allowing me to watch this movie. And of course, if you've already seen Strange Harvest, let me know what you thought about it in the comments.